After almost 6 months, Daniel Martel doesn't believe Lilly and Jack Sullivan are in the woods near their home in Lansdowne Station.
Everything's been searched at this point, so I think everyone's just looking to, what's the alternate, what could happen to the kids other than being in the woods.
The kids were reported missing from their home in Pictou County on May 2nd. Since then, there have been extensive searches with cadaver dogs brought in and RCMP combing through more than 800 tips and over 8,000 video files. Despite little results, Martel says he's doing everything he can to advocate for the kids.
I'm just trying to keep the public informed as much as I can. And I don't know if I'm the best voice to be speaking for Lilly and Jack, but I'm still going to do it anyway and for the kids.
Martel was one of many who attended the silent vigil at Stellarton's RCMP detachment to mark Jack's 5th birthday on Wednesday evening. Many of who came with the hope the event will keep the story at the forefront. For the maternal aunts of the kids, the last 6 months have been difficult, especially with speculation and accusations online about the family.
Absolutely miserable. It's a nightmare that I wish we could just wake up from, and I wouldn't wish this on anybody.
Vigil organizer Kent Corbett says the event is an opportunity to show support to the family and bring the community together.
We can let the family know that Pictou County and Nova Scotia and beyond are not going to rest until we find answers and bring Jack and Lily home.
Pictou County's warden adds their disappearance has significantly impacted the area, but cautions against speculation about the case.
They belong to all of us. It takes a village to raise a child. Well, it also takes a village, the whole county, to protect these children.
For Martel, he's touched with how many people came out for the kids.
People are still standing here in the cold just, for Lilly and Jack, especially Jack on his birthday.
Angela Capobianco, Global News, Stellarton, Nova Scotia.
On May 2nd, 2 young lives vanished from a neighborhood that was small enough everyone thought they knew one another. In the months since, what began as urgent, hope-driven searches has become an endurance test of community patience, investigative rigor, and public restraint. Families have organized silent vigils, advocates have held media briefings, and volunteers have continued to walk the bush and roads around Pictou County in the hope that a fresh pair of eyes will find what others missed. But the search markers are stark. No conclusive recovery, thousands of hours of review, and a mounting public appetite for an answer that keeps slipping just beyond reach. This report gathers what is known, what's been done, and why those small actions, a vigil, a recorded tip, a cadaver dog's alert, means so much in the slow work of solving disappearances. From the start, official resources were mobilized quickly. Local RCMP officers coordinated with specialists, search and rescue volunteers combed likely corridors, and canine units were brought in where terrain allowed. Cadaver dogs, trained to detect human remains, were used to sweep areas that had been identified by leads or that matched plausible movement patterns. Investigators collected witness statements, logged every tip, and began the painstaking work of tracking digital traces, phone pings, social media posts, and surveillance footage that could be time-stamped. These are standard procedures in complex missing person investigations, but the scale of the effort grew quickly. By the time initial searches wound down, police had reviewed more than 8,000 hours of video and documented over 800 tips from the public. That volume of material is both a blessing and a burden. It means many avenues have been explored, but each promising lead must be painstakingly verified, cross-checked, and ruled in or out. In practice, that means detectives spend months sifting, not just days acting. One of the people who has not stopped acting publicly is Daniel Martel. An advocate in the region, Martel has become a persistent and visible voice on behalf of the missing children and their family. He has repeatedly told local media and supporters that, based on what he has seen and been told, he doubts the children remain hidden in the immediate nearby woods where early searches were most intense. That position is not a dismissal of hope. It's a call to broaden the search logic and keep community attention alive. Martel's role highlights a key dynamic in prolonged cases. Outside advocates can supply the stamina that institutions sometimes struggle to maintain. Where official resources ebb and flow with staffing cycles, Advocacy groups, local leaders, and persistent volunteers sustain pressure, keep the story present in the public mind, and sometimes surface late-arriving tips because people remember things only after the initial frenzy subsides. Community vigils have become a central ritual in this story. Silent gatherings have been held in public spaces, but one in particular cut close to the bone: a vigil at the Stellarton RCMP detachment marking what would have been little Jack's 5th birthday. Such vigils have practical and symbolic power. Practically, they maintain visibility. When dozens or hundreds of people gather in a small town for a silent vigil, the case stays in local news cycles, in social feeds, and on the desks of decision-makers. Symbolically, vigils give citizens a ritual for grief and for solidarity. They channel communal pain into a public statement that the missing are not forgotten. Organizers hope vigils will keep the case alive in people's memory so that if someone remembers a stray detail, a blue van at a certain time, a strange itinerary, or a half-heard conversation, they will come forward. In many long-running investigations, the break that matters comes months later. A discarded receipt, a store plate match, an overlooked camera angle. Vigils create the cultural context that keeps late tips arriving. The human toll inside families has been raw and relentless. Maternal aunts and other relatives have felt the full force of speculation and online accusation. In small communities where reputations are fragile and digital rumor travels fast, the burden is twofold. Families grieve, and they must defend themselves against accusatory commentary that offers certainty where none exists. The emotional damage of such speculation is real. Advocates and local leaders have repeatedly called for caution and compassion. They remind neighbors and online onlookers that unfounded accusations cause secondary harm to people already living through a loss that can't be resolved. That plea is not a shield to hide evidence. It is a moral and practical appeal to prioritize cooperation. By encouraging witnesses to come forward rather than lashing out, communities produce the very material investigators need. The RCMP's public posture has been steady if sparse. Thorough searches, methodical reviews, and a professional insistence on evidence over conjecture. It's important to stress what that posture means in practice. When officers say they have reviewed thousands of hours of footage, they do more than press play. Experts use specialized software to scrub timecodes, synchronize multiple cameras, enhance image quality where legally permissible, and cross-reference identifiable objects or plates. Tips are triaged by credibility, then by verifiability. Some leads trigger immediate fieldwork, others lead to subpoenaed records or forensic comparisons. The scale of that work explains why months can pass without a dramatic press conference. Investigative integrity is painstaking, not performative. Detectives are also aware that public patience phrase, and they balance transparency with the need not to disclose tactical details that could compromise an eventual prosecution or alert a suspect. That balance sometimes creates a public sense of opacity. People want answers now, but investigators argue that restraint preserves the case's long-term solvability. Even with those methods, the material returned to date has been inconclusive. Cadaver dogs may alert to historical scent markers. Thermal and aerial searches can miss well-covered depressions. Video capture can be incomplete or low resolution. Authorities have publicly acknowledged these limits while continuing to invite tips. That honest admission is important. It signals to the public that investigators are not ruling anything out, but that they will only act on corroborated information. That's a central tension in many long-term investigations. The line between keeping the public informed and avoiding speculative chatter that sidelines resources. Local leaders have therefore echoed a repeated refrain: if you saw something, say something, but give detectives what they need to act, not conjecture to confuse the trail. How the community reacts matters. Pictou County's warden has warned against speculation, calling for communal responsibility in the face of an ongoing investigation. That call isn't mere civility. It's strategic. When communities contain rumor, they free up investigators to focus on evidence. When communities amplify rumor, resources are diverted to debunk false claims, chase red herrings, and manage the social fallout. The warden's message also underscores another reality. Solving missing person cases in small communities is as much about social recovery as about detective work. Trust fractures under suspicion. Restoring that trust helps both families and investigators. Advocates like Martel have kept up a steady stream of public outreach, updates, calls for tips, and reminders about what constitutes helpful information. Their persistence is a practical tool because human memory is reconstructive. People often remember details only after time gives them distance from the shock. A neighbor who initially thought a late-night trio at a house was nothing might, months later, recall details about an unfamiliar car's license plate after seeing a vigil photo. That human tendency to recall late is why investigators maintain open tip lines indefinitely and why advocacy is not merely symbolic. The emotional landscape inside the family has likewise demanded public sensitivity. Maternal aunts have suffered the double burden of grief and accusation. Family members face a community, both supportive and restless. Organizers of vigils have made a point of modeling how to protest with dignity, silent company, candles, and quiet letters left at police stations, as a deliberate way to avoid inflaming passions while keeping public pressure alive. This deliberate, dignified civic action matters because it changes the social context of the search. It signals to hesitant witnesses that there is communal support for speaking up and that their memory could matter. Practically, investigators continue to follow new leads. The number of tips processed, more than 800 reported, demonstrates that ordinary citizens remain engaged. Each tip requires intake, initial assessment, and often follow-up interviews. Some tips are straightforward, supplying a dashcam clip or a CCTV screenshot with a timestamp. Others are memories that need corroboration. Did someone actually see a person at a given time and place? Or did that memory grow in the retelling? Detectives comb through these inputs, sometimes rerunning searches in places initially checked with new information in hand. That iterative approach is ordinary in long-term cases. It is also a reason why vigilance, in both literal and civic terms, remains crucial. There are a few blunt takeaways that emerge from these months of effort. First, exhaustive searches have not produced conclusive evidence. That reality is frustrating but explains why investigators continue to pursue less visible, more technical avenues. Second, community vigils and organized advocacy have kept the case in the public eye and may yet produce the late tip that changes everything. Third, online speculation amplifies pain and can impede cooperation. It's not just rude, it's obstructive. Fourth, local advocates persist despite uncertainty, and their role is to sustain attention and to translate public concern into actionable tips. Finally, authorities are urging restraint, withhold premature judgments, pass along verifiable data, and let professionals test leads. As the months pass, the moral center of this story remains the same. 2 children are missing and a family is living with an absence no ritual can fill. The community's job is to provide both pressure and protection. Pressure that keeps investigators resourced and public attention focused. Protection that shields the family from the corrosive effects of rumor. That delicate balance is why vigils are more than ceremony. They are civic interventions designed to maintain public memory in ways that aid investigation. If you are reading this and you were in or around Pictou County on or after May 2nd, please check your records. Dashcam footage, time-stamped photographs, security camera clips, or precise recollections of an unfamiliar vehicle or conversation could be the detail that helps. Contact the RCMP tip line with anything verifiable. Don't post unverified speculation online. It hurts the family and diverts investigative energy. Keep compassion at the center of your conversations. Support for the missing children is not only about sorrow, it's about sustaining a search with facts, not noise. The search continues, and advocates will keep holding vigil until answers come. For families and communities, hope is both fragile and fierce. It is the reason that every candle stays lit, every walk through the bush is retraced, and every small, late tip is treated with a seriousness that might turn months into a resolution. This case remains open. Every patient detail matters.